The death of this 22-year-old from Ohio, how does it change the calculus?
Well, it's a dangerous escalation by North Korea. In the past, North Korea had not used these type of techniques on or subjected Americans to torture. North Korea has a long history of kidnapping Americans as bargaining chips in their standoff with Washington. But it's important to remember that it was only a matter of time. I mean, the way North Korea treats its own citizens with torture and inhumane treatment, it was only a matter of time that they started using that against Americans. It's part of the reason why we really shouldn't believe this regime is ready to negotiate or will ever be ready to negotiate away its nuclear weapons.
When Donald Trump meets his South Korean counterpart next week, though, there'll be differences. The South Koreans are in favor of more talks with the North to de-escalate, and they're also wary of the installation of a missile defense shield on the Korean peninsula. Can they iron out those differences?
Well, that depends on President Moon Jae-in. I think that there are a lot of differences between the two countries, and Moon Jae-in wants to go back to a time that we know did not work, a time where South Korea and others bribed North Korea with billions of dollars in aid and said, just another engagement, another set of money will convince Kim Jong-il, the father of the current leader, that it's time to give up these nuclear weapons. And what did he do? He accelerated his nuclear and missile programs. There's no evidence that this type of inducements or engagements will actually have the stated purpose. And just to be clear, that missile defense shield not only protects South Koreans, it protects American soldiers that are in the range circle of North Korea's missiles.
Nonetheless, you're saying that engagement hasn't worked, but isolation isn't working either. Isn't it dangerous, the fact that right now, basically, when Dennis Rodman goes to North Korea, it's considered a major breakthrough almost?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a major breakthrough, I would say. I mean, Dennis Rodman is a sideshow. I mean, he's a sideshow here in the United States, and he's a sideshow when he goes to North Korea.
But shouldn't there be, no, I'm just saying that, shouldn't there be more, Anthony, shouldn't there be more dialogue between, wouldn't that be good for everybody all around?
Sure. Talking to North Korea is fine, but I don't think we should delude ourselves into thinking that North Korea is going to abide by the 4 prior negotiations that they ended by violating the deal. And I think you're right. Pressure has not worked. And the reason it has not worked, and this administration has unfortunately fallen into this trap that the prior 2 administrations, Republican and Democrat, have, is that we're afraid to go after Chinese companies and Chinese banks that are colluding with North Korea. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And that's why pressure is not working. And I just want to be clear, this is not a choice between doing nothing and war. There are other options, but I think we have to be clear with ourselves that when we look at the options that have failed, including engagement and providing essentially bribes, maybe we shouldn't go back to that on its own.
All right, so target more China, not necessarily Pyongyang, you're saying. Anthony Ruggiero, the senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, thank you for joining us from Washington.